All right, what's up, guys? Pushed the wrong button. Started the loading screen again. But what's up? I hope everyone had an awesome Christmas period and are ready for 2025. Let's make some good shit happen, man. This is the year where we want to be cashing out our gains from the bull market. I believe this year the bull market will end, but not yet. We're not there yet. So first, I just want to look at Bitcoin. Let's see what is happening. Look at some interesting setups. I mean, first of all, it's clear that things are looking bullish for the day, possibly for the week, but we'll get into that a little bit more. If we go to the multi-time frame page of the dashboard, it's loading it up. We will see that things are looking pretty bullish. I have discussed this more in my video this morning, my live video, not live video, the video analysis posted in the Discord. I'll wait for that thing to load. But in general, if you watch that video, you already know what I'm looking at. We have a range within a range, right? We have the bigger range right here. And as you know, I was looking at, if you've been following my post, I was looking at this volume gap to be filled. Right, so I said this volume gap will be filled, and which means that price will have to spend some time there. And now the volume gap is filled, right? We have this small little thing right here, but it is filled, so there's no need to. It doesn't mean we cannot spend more time there, but the need to spend time there is gone, right? Very beautiful, low volume gap filled, so that worked as expected, and we still have this range. So we have this big range right here. And then we have a lower range, actually, let me just first lay out the range right here. So we have the range right here. And then we have the lower range, which is the Christmas range. So I would call it, which is the range right here. This is like the main ideas. But clearly, Bitcoin is range bound, right? Bitcoin is range bound. We're going sideways. So you have to position your trades based on that. I would not be taking longs here looking for the breakout. Like or at least you can leave some open, but I would not be looking for longs until personally here. Like even if you were long from here, I would be taking profits along the way, possibly leave a little bit open for a potential breakout, because as long as you're in a range, you have to treat it as a range, which means the range low is support, which is where we're coming from now, from both a higher time frame perspective as well as a lower time frame range, the Christmas range, and as well as the range here, which is now acting as resistance. And even if we clear it, then this is resistance. So the main idea is that Bitcoin is range bound. So what does that mean? Exactly what I said. We're looking for shorts at the range high and longs at the range low. But I want to dive into things a little bit more granular. So we have this Christmas range right here. And so this is the Christmas range, where this is the low of the range. And this is the high of the range. And you can see it's very nicely respected. You also want to see some respect of the midline. That doesn't necessarily mean a tap like this, but there needs to be some consolidation there, which has been happening. And right now, where are we coming from? We came from the lows of the range, which means that most likely we're going to the highs of the range next. And if we look at some statistics, if that thing loads, let me get those on. Jump in the chat real quick, see if that's working. I feel like the chat always needs some time to get started. But if we look at these statistics right here and give it a minute to load, and then also on the daily, you can see there's bull signs everywhere. Then, the logical conclusion is that higher prices are coming today still, right? So what does that mean? That means that for me, currently, there is no trade. Why? Because on the lower time frame, we're clearly, getting to the premiums of that range. And you can see that very well here, where we're at the very area high, very close to the very area high. So even though, and there's one trade I would take actually, and I will dive into that later. But at this point in time, obviously, price is really high. There's no retracement. There's no nothing. So why would we be looking for longs to be ahead here? What's up, Lars? How are you doing, bro? Good to see you, man. But there's no longs to be had here. So even though we are seeing that there are bull signs and high prices are likely for the day, we would want to see more retracements. So what retracements are we looking at? What retracements are we looking at? Well, if this is our small range, let me park that thought. We're going to dive into that later. The main thing now is, personally, I would not get involved at all here because we're in the middle of the range. I would like to get involved here and here, right? These are the levels for Bitcoin that I would be looking at. So what does that mean? Well, we have the high time frame range low here. So if we reach these lows, I prefer to see this one taken out as well, because you kind of need to tap this range low, the high time frame range low, right? This range. So that's a very interesting area to be looking at. And if we don't get there and we go to the higher range first, the lower range, this one, then what you're looking at is somewhere here to get involved. Now, a good or deviation level is always the -2 right there. And then if you put on some simple supply and demand levels, then what you have here is a very important supply level. And we also have this naked daily point of control. So the first area I would be interested in, possibly, or I would be interested in getting shorts in, would be right here, right? It's a naked daily point of control and the supply zone right there, right at that deviation level. So if price would do something like this, go back down, then this is obviously a very interesting place to look for a short and go back towards the lows. And it's not weird at all. Like I would consider this whole piece of price action as one massive weekend. And we know what weekends usually do. Weekends usually take liquidity both upside and downside. And the reason was one big weekend is because there was a lot of holidays with Christmas and all. And there is also, very low volume in this whole area. So it makes sense to start taking liquidity both sides. If I would have to bet, I would say that the most logical scenario would be to take liquidity at the top first and then go for liquidity at the lows. So for me personally, patience until price reaches these levels or the levels below in case, price goes for the low first, which obviously is possible. So that's my higher time frame idea. If you're asking me even higher time frame, what do I think is going to happen? And I don't want to dive into it too much because I'm going to make a separate stream about it probably tomorrow. But this is going to, in my opinion, break to the upside eventually, right? So it's a consolidation now, but we will put in a low at some point and continue to go up again after that. I don't believe this is going to break down and this is the top of the bull run. I believe the bull run is going to continue somewhere this month, most likely. But until then, we just have to be patient and just treat the range that it is, which means that the most interesting thing to do is to wait for the lows of that range and look for longs there. Still treat it as a range, take profit at the highs of the range, but leave some open for later. But I don't want to go into it too much, but I do want to say that because I realize people are wondering whether I think this is the end of the bull run or not. And no, I do not think this is the end of the bull run. I do think we're going to go higher. And I think this is simply a consolidation that will shake people out. And after that, we will continue higher without whoever sold. So also, if you think about it like that, then a little bit lower makes sense because I don't think we really reached it's actually funny that people are freaking out at we're 91.5K, right? 91.5K, and people are losing their minds of like, holy shit, this is a 91.5K. I mean, not too long ago, we were at 69K. So now we're at 91K and people are freaking out that it's going down. I mean, it's funny how the market works like that, but incredible prices still. And as you know, I've been skating in a little bit into Doge and Ethereum. So, I'm very well convinced that we'll, or pretty confident that we'll see higher prices. But once again, that's just a side note. I want to focus a little bit more on the current price action, and then I'll go into the high time frame idea later on. But for now, this is the idea, right? Very short. Wait for this and wait for the lows here, where the main low is here, 90K, right? I would like to see 90K swept. And maybe a good thing to quickly discuss is, I've discussed this already in some videos, but I'll just repeat it because it's an interesting concept that is worth repeating. You probably know that I've been advocating for, let me see here, ever since before we had that bounce actually from here, where I mentioned it first in a post. Oh, that's not the right one. I want to have this one. Ever since before we had this bounce, I've been saying, okay, I think price needs to spend some time within here, right? In this low volume gap is what I said, low volume gap. Because what I said is, I think we need to fill it. So I said it even before this post, but in the quoted video, I mentioned the possibility of price spending some time in the low volume gap. So this is one of the videos that I discussed. I still believe this is a logical play. Price is currently transitioning from an upward sloping consolidation into a sideways consolidation, which means we're looking at a normal distribution to form. I'm going to go over this quickly because I explained it in yesterday's review video. So go check that out. It's in the Discord. But I know not everyone watched it. Not a lot of people, which makes sense because it's still holiday period. But a normal distribution is very simply put, you're looking for this, right? You're looking for the volume to be highest in the middle at the point of control and basically slope down after. And here we didn't have that. We had like a double distribution where we had very low volume there. So what I said is, I still believe this is a logical play. Price is currently transitioning from upward sloping consolidation into a sideways consolidation, which means we're looking at a normal distribution to form. Very simply put, this simply means that statistically it is most likely to put in the most volume at the mean, the point of control, and volume should gradually decrease the further we move away from the point of control. Since there is currently a gap, it makes sense for price to spend some time there to fill it, adhering to the mechanics of a normal distribution, which are very common in financial markets, right? So this is what I said. The more normal distribution needs to form something like this. There's this gap right now, so this gap needs to get filled. And that's why I said, okay, we need to spend some time in here to fill that gap. And alas, look at what happened. The gap's pretty much gone, right? The gap's pretty much gone. So there is no more need to spend time in here. That doesn't mean that price cannot spend time in here, but whereas previously said, okay, price needs to spend some time here to fill that volume gap, there's no longer a need to fill it, right? The volume gap has been filled. But what that does mean is that my thesis here of transitioning from an upward slope consolidation into a sideways consolidation is effectively correct, which was very high probability that was going to happen in the first place. But now we have, without a doubt, confirmation that we're in the sideways range. So it's good to take that into account. And it gives further confidence to the idea that we need to take the current price action as a ranging price actions and not be looking to take our longs to the moon, not yet, and not be looking to take our shorts very far down either, right? You just trade the range as it is. So that's Bitcoin. Let's look a little bit further into the current price action. As I said, I would not trade this right now. I just wouldn't trade it. I just wouldn't trade it because, first of all, we just came out of this massive weekend, what you have to say. And I mean, look at this. I do believe there is more chance for upside, but we have the high time frame point of control right above us and the low time frame range very area high right above us. So even though I do think we will see higher eventually and reject from this very area high right now, I personally wouldn't bet on that we get there. Like the longs are somewhere here at the lows of the range. This is just a do nothing zone. However, if you're feeling very risky, there is one setup I would trade, and then we enter into the realm of pivot zones and statistics. So let's turn on our pivot zones. This is one I have discussed on the daily analysis video. So let me just I want to have these like that. Get those off. All right, so first of all, let's look at statistics here. So if we would just look at Bitcoin, let's see if I can just find Bitcoin here. There it is. Bitcoin. There's basically 12%, only 12% of days would take out the daily low, and 81.6% of days would go higher. 81.6% of days would go higher. So there's a very low chance of taking out the daily low and a very high chance of going high for the day. At the same time, we're at the highs and there is only a 0.1 retracement, which means that the current price action is at the daily high. Now, this is not something I would bet against, right? This is not something I would bet against, or at least I would not trade into that. There's no trade to be had right here. What we would want to wait for is a retracement to happen. Now, I really like, though, the way this is setting up. So we have the daily P1 zones, or the daily pivot zones right here, and we have the daily P1 right at close to the daily open. Now, if you want to see trending days, days that go far, this is what you want to see, right? You want to see the daily P1 close to the daily open. There is much more of a chance to continue going up if the daily P1 is close to the daily open than if you do something like this. Then a range is more likely, right? So this would usually not lead to this, whereas there's a high chance of this leading to higher prices. So we immediately see something interesting. We see that both the daily P2 zone and the session P2 zone, so this is the New York P2 zone, are both at the very area high of this range, right? And this is not only the very area high, oh shit, I didn't even see that. This is the very area high of the bigger range, but it's also the high of the absolute high of the lower range. So if price would go up from here for the daily targets, you are definitely looking at no further, or well, with a high degree of certainty, no further than this level, right? This is very important resistance for the day. So if price gets here, a very nice target in case you are in the long, and also interesting to start looking for shorts. Although I would personally wait if price gets here for the next day to maybe put in a P1 there. But for now, this is the current situation. If I would be looking for a long, then right now there is no long to be had right under the point of control, right up the highs. There's really no long to be had here. But what you could go for is that we'll have to see that I would have preferred for price to have retraced already. So I don't think I would do it now, but you see this very nice structure on the lower time frames, which is also something I would like to see if I want to look for continuation. But what you would prefer to see is obviously a retrace, and the best place for a retrace would then be somewhere here where you put in the P1 within the session P1 zone, right? So this would be a good session low for the New York session. So session low right here, and then continue up and then look for targets somewhere within here. And you can see as well that, locally, this was a market structure high. We retested it right here, and we moved up. And then this effectively becomes the new previous market structure high, and you would want to kind of retest that. So if that happens, that is the only long I would personally be taking. And if that doesn't happen, I would simply wait for higher prices, because once again, I do believe high prices now are more likely than lower prices, and eventually you would expect the range highs to be hit there, right? So if we don't see that retrace, there's no trade to be had. We just wait. If we do see a retrace, personally, I will not enter anyway, but if you're feeling risky, that is the only setup I would be taking. The same goes for all the alts. If you look at this, you can see that most of the alts, actually, we can look at some. There's some alts with 69.2%. So we have to look at this one, Jasmy USDT. I have no clue what it is, but we'll take a look at this one. 6.9% to 69.2%. All right. That cannot be a coincidence. This one has to go up, because it also has a nice, a little bit of a retrace. So let's take a look at Jasmy, because, for the meme. Ekru, what's up? Robin, good to see you. Access, hey sir, do you take crypto payment from Noma Analytics? Not yet, but we will. We will integrate it in the next months. So stay tuned. Aza, what's up, bro? All right, so that is my thoughts on Bitcoin right now. So no trade to be had right now. Maybe if there's a retrace here, interesting, but you want it to happen sooner rather than later. So that's why I said I would have preferred to see something like this happen and then go up, because the later this happens, the less likely it is to become a P1, right? Because very simply put, this is where you put the time statistics. And I'll show you that actually. We go to the time statistics for the session, and we look at the current session, which is New York. Then we see, we give this time a little, oh, that's a little bit much. I'll just go for this selection. Yeah, Mondays to Fridays. So then we see that, just in the first 2 hours alone, but let's take the first 3 hours, 38.7 plus 25.7. So that's, almost 65% plus 20%. So 85% of session P1s get put in before here. Which is why I say you prefer to see it sooner rather than later, because if this would happen, and then here, then there's a very small chance that this is going to do this, right? That's like 15% of the sessions will do something like that. So you'd want to see that P1, if this were to happen, you'd want to see it happen somewhere before 3 p.m. UTC, right? So you need a retrace here, and then would be the only time that you could say, okay, there might be a long to be had there. But once again, I want to urge that it's a more risky trade because we have this resistance right above us, this massive point of control. But if I would be looking for anything on Bitcoin, this would be it. Happy New Year to you too, Aza. Happy New Year to everyone once again. I said it at the start of the stream, but there were not many present yet. So we're looking for a retrace. If it doesn't happen, we're not looking for anything, and we're waiting for the highs of the range to be put in. Because once again, the highs of this range has confluence with and the daily P2 zone and the session P2 zone. So it's a great area. But you can already think ahead and think, okay, but where would that place us in the weekly pivot zones? Yeah. So then you would not expect a massive reversal for the rest of the week. Reason is that it's already way outside of the weekly P2 zone. This actually looks like a nice, oh yeah, look at that. Another reason to tread with caution here. Because, guys, by the way, if you want pivot zones, weekly pivot zones, I know, there's members in here and non-members. If you want to see some weekly pivot zones for some assets, drop them in the chat and I'll show you what the pivot zones are. But, there's also the weekly P1 zone high. So this here just has a lot of confluence to be resistance, which is why you want to be cautious right now with any longs. Very cautious. Right, because we know that the weekly pivot zones, the P1 zones, act as support resistance a lot as well. So every reason to be cautious. But let me set an alert if we do get to retrace. All right, let's look at Jasmine, because we saw, and that's some interesting stats. Yeah, so this is more what you would want to see. Yeah, this is actually interesting. So once again, I picked this for the meme because we have Jasmine, 6.9% chance of taking out the low and 69.2% chance of having further displacement. We can press Jasmine and check what the time statistics are saying. All right, so if the low holds, then the high is very unlikely to hold because we have a current P2 at hour 9, and we see that it's been 178 days since Jasmine put in the second pivot at hour 9. It's more likely to be a P1, but we see that it would be P1 only in 6.9% of days. So this is actually a very interesting setup. And also it's retesting the daily P1 zone. Nice. So this is actually a very interesting setup. I like this one. I actually like this one. Obviously, you need to take higher time frame context in account. Let's see. We're right at the weekly P1 zone. All right. Yeah, that's the only thing you would not want to see. Right at the value area high of that Christmas range. Most assets have been in a Christmas range. Well, let's see. That's one warning sign. Let's see if I can find another. If there's too many warning signs, I won't do it. I would discard it. All right, no naked daily point of controls. That's good. Because the naked daily point of control for me is a no-go. Yeah, not looking too bad. Except for the very area high. And then see, there's some structure. Some, not the cleanest, but there is some. this. So the question is this going to be the lower high? And then you're looking for higher prices there. Yeah, considering everything, not the worst. I know there is a very area high up there, but we know that there's only a 6.9 or 6.2 or no 6.9% chance of taking out this low right here. So that would happen. So 6.9% of days would see something like this, right? And then end wherever. So that's low probability. And we know that our 9 is a very shitty P2. So if this doesn't get taken out, which is high probability, right? So it's high probability to hold. Then we know that it's been 178 days since you're in P2 have been put in at our 9, which makes this a shitty P2. So this is actually a very nice, just the kind of setup you would want to see. Let's see what else we got. Okay, support resistance. So this is kind of the SR flip level that you do not want to lose. See what the volume is saying. Oh yeah. Yeah, you kind of don't want to lose this one though. High volume node, high volume node, high volume node, high volume node. But this is definitely strong support. Very strong support for it locally, right there. And right at that. So this is right at that session P1 zone as well. So this would be an interesting level if price gets there. If there is some like daily point of controls to the downside. Oh yeah, there's also that's daily point of control. Yeah, so this would be the make or break level. If price does not make it here, or just this zone in general, is where I'd be looking for a zone. Lose that, and you're definitely not gonna take out, or not definitely, but you're not probably not gonna take out the high anymore. I personally think this would be the riskier entry right here. I would wait for that low right there that I just pointed out in case we get there. It's after 0.5. Oh wait, pulled that wrong. Yeah, at the 0.5. Yeah, so this is actually a nice area. Nice area here. So just to put this all together, I agree, as I wouldn't hold this too long because we are at the very area high, but for a nice intraday scalp with quick TP, could very well be. So we have a couple of things, and I just want to go over these slowly so you can see how the different statistics are used within the dashboard. Let's start with the distance statistics. We see that 6.9% of days would take out the low, right? So very low probability. We see 69.2% of days see more displacement on any given day. The only thing though is that I have a lot of history selected. So let me just check what happens if I have more recent history. These won't change, but yeah, so it's still very good. So 6.4%. So only 6.4% of days would take out the low, which makes us conclude, well, this is most likely safe. We also have some good support. We have this uptrend, this volume support. There's a local market structure. Then we have 69.6% of days that would see further displacements. So, 70% is pretty good. Not only that, we also know that the current P2 is a shitty P2, right? Because our 9 is where the current P2 was put in, right? During our 9, which is the London session. And the London session is very bad to put in a high. And we see that it's been 178 days since our 9 put in P2. So we have all these things combined saying like, okay, if the low holds, it's very likely to take out the high. And since it's unlikely to take out the low, this is what we are looking for. for a scalp long indeed, right? I also would not hold this long because you're at the range high, just like with Bitcoin. Because preferably, this is what I would say. You prefer to see these kind of statistics lower, right? In discounts. That's why I also said on Bitcoin, I would personally just wait. Also because we're just coming out of this long weekend range. But this would nicely align with the idea that I just painted on Bitcoin, where Bitcoin has to retrace back towards, what was it, 95K or something. Right, so this would align nicely. If Bitcoin would retrace, see something like that, also would have to hold a little stronger for that to be a nice setup. Then possibly we could see continuation from there. But once again, we want to see that happen before 3 p.m. UTC. 3 p.m. UTC. This is the latest you would want to see it happen. If it doesn't happen by then, no bueno. All right. So actually, not a bad setup as all. In terms of statistics and TA, this is pretty much what you want to see. So what you saw on Jasmine. I don't think I added it there yet. The only thing that would be much more ideal is if you weren't at the range highs, right? So that's why I said I would be careful. Here, I mean, there's still definitely a chance to go a little bit higher, but there's no swing long to be had here at all or anything. My personal opinion is that it's better to just wait at this point. But if you're looking for something, it checks off a lot of the boxes. The only thing that would have been nicer is if it would have been a bit lower, because then obviously the risk to reward is better, and you have, you'd rather take, if you're ranging, you'd rather take these in a discount area. Finally, we can check the pivot zones, and that tells us that if we get here, it's still well in place to put in a session P1. We know this often acts as support. So if that happens early, interesting spot, and we can look for targets. I wouldn't take the targets here, but somewhere here, because this would be quite a retrace. And then it's the same as what I said earlier. You're less likely to do this, right? But interesting setup. Let's set an alarm, because it does look like we're going to get it. All right, so let me get that one off. Let me get the weekly off. Clean things up. And that means that Bitcoin is also giving us a retrace. And this is what you would want to see. Let's look at a couple more. ENA. I think I don't have it yet in the dashboard. No, I don't have it yet. I'll add it. Can I add it? Yeah, I'll add this one. Oh, no, wait, I can't yet. Almost. Too little data. It needs to have a little bit more data to make any statistically significant zones and stuff and statistics that we can confidently derive biases from. So I'll wait 2 more months and then I'll add ENA. But let's look at the general, because we see that, another interesting thing here is that what I've been looking for a while is that this, for me, is the zone in which alt season, we will see acceleration of alt season, and we have reached that zone. I've always said like February, March, I think is going to be the alt season, but it's a zone, and we've reached that zone now, and now Bitcoin dominance is going down. Could this be the lower high followed by the lower low? And would align very nicely with this zone. This zone I've had on my chart for months now. So we've reached that. So it will be interesting to see what altcoins are doing. So let's just go down the list and see what they're doing based on their weekly pivot zones. Oh, wait, I need to go to the other list right here. Just get a general idea of where they're at. Ranging. It's pretty much the same for all of them, right? All of them have been ranging during Christmas. Oh, that one's not working. ADA's pushing out nicely. All right, so if you see this, This I would personally not bet on a very trending week to, like, if price does this, I wouldn't necessarily think this would happen, because once again, if you have a trending week, you're better off seeing something like this for a trending week. If you see something like this, then a ranging week is more likely. And I wouldn't be surprised to see some more ranges. I think people will be very eager. Yeah, I think people will be very eager for continuation, but as long as you're in a range, you just have to treat it as a range. It really is that simple. And I think some more fuckery, also, if you look at Bitcoin, considering it's still in a range, some more fuckery, also in alts, would not be weird. But I do think that all season is getting closer. Let's look at Doge and there. So Doge is looking stronger, but I just wouldn't long this here. I mean, I've been accumulating here. I haven't accumulated all I have, or DCA'd all I've DCA'd yet, because I want to see if this thing goes lower. But this is where I have been DCAing into. But once again, you're here at the top of that local range. So, no longs to be had there, in my opinion. Let's see what the daily pivot zones are saying. Still room to go a little bit higher for the day, though. And then this could be a very nice target. Right? Because it's at the edge of the daily pivot zone. Yeah, we've basically similar setups forming all across the board. It's the same thing. Pretty much the same thing as with Jasmine. Right? Move up, move up. Now you're looking for a retest of this level right here. But once again, you're at range high. So honestly, man, the best thing, I'm explaining these setups because it's really good to understand what to look for. But ideally, you would see him a bit lower, not at range high. So I would personally just wait, man, if I'm being really honest. Let's see if there is one we can find that has a little bit better location. All right, so let's see. What is the most promising one here? No retrace, no retrace. Dot's not looking too bad. And the rest is too far up. So let's take Dot out. Oh wait, I don't want that one. I want this one. Same thing. See, it's the same setup all across the board. And then this one's also probably, yep. See, top of the range. I personally wouldn't long this. Maybe a scalp. If I look at this, I wouldn't be surprised to see some further ranging happening here. That'll be the case on all altcoins. But you're at the top of this consolidation right after Christmas. Fuckery is bound to happen. Just basically one very big long weekend where we came out from what I said earlier. But same thing happened is that this is obviously as our level right here. So what you would want to see is a pivot being put in here, followed by higher. But same thing applies. Would be a scalp. Personally, I would wait. But let's see what the time statistics are saying for this one. Yeah, the time statistics are not saying that much. Right, this is 70 days since it's been P2, 6 days since it's been P1. I mean, clearly P1's been put in hour 0, so there's 66% chance in terms of time statistics for it to hold, but a 95% chance of it to hold in terms of distance statistics. And a very low chance. Let me see what 3.8% chance more or less to hold as P2. So yeah, all the statistics are still indicating further upside. I'm not gonna lie. For the day, further upside seems likely. So if I were looking at anything, it would be scalp longs. Pretty much same setup here. See what the farm is doing. Not too great, if I'm honest. I like Jasmine better because it had the high volume node there. But if you're looking for anywhere, then that would be the place. here. Right here, looking for continuation as such. So it's the same setups across the board. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing. And now let's see what Jasmine is doing. Bitcoin is slowly retracing. So once again, you'd want to see this bottom being put in before 3 p.m. if you want to see higher prices. Yeah, and here it didn't reach the level yet. Right now it's right above that. Pretty much no volume gap. All right, so still waiting for a little bit of a deeper retrace because New York's opening. All right, I think it opened 20 minutes ago, right? Yeah. All right. So if I would have to conclude, I do think higher prices for the day are likely. If you look at all statistics are indicating higher prices are likely. Also, the market structure is looking pretty good. So if you would look for anything, would be scalp longs. The ones I just laid out. However, you want to be careful. We're right below this important resistance on Bitcoin, and we're right below important resistance on pretty much all altcoins because every coin has been in a Christmas range, and pretty much all assets are now at the highs of the range, right? Also, Bitcoin right here. Clean that up. So personally, for me, this would be a day where I would just wait. But if you're feeling more risky, there are some altcoin long setups that you could be taking. All right. Other than that, I think I'm going to keep things short and sweet this stream. There are some very nice setups, very nice statistically backed setups for scalp longs. But I would also like to show you, in case you don't have them, some pivot zones for the main players. We have Bitcoin right here. So these are the pivot zones. So if you put that against the higher time frame range, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to just keep on within this smaller range for the rest of the week. Right now we have Monday as the low. We know that generally is that. Let's actually look what Monday is doing. I haven't checked. Let me just go to this page. Let's see how many P2s we've had on or P1s we've had on Monday. All right, so yeah, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Monday. Yeah, like you know that I'm looking for a trend change there. You know that I'm looking for a trend change. But so far, Mondays are holding pretty well. So this would also kind of align with the idea that now we have the low of the week on Monday and the high of the week on Thursday. But you can just see it's a low volatility week all around, right? Because we just came out of New Year's. To be honest, man, I would just wait for the next week before deciding anything. But it would make more sense to hold this as the low. It's for me. I'm kind of just realizing that it's already Thursday, right? Because it feels like a Tuesday because of the New Year's, but it's not. So yeah, I don't think I would necessarily be paying attention to these weekly. Because for example, now there's a 92% chance of further displacement, but it's also just a very low volatility week because of Christmas and all. So it's not a normal week. So applying normal statistics to it doesn't make a lot of sense. But if anything, the weekly lows seem stronger than the weekly highs simply because the weekly low is on a Monday, which aligns with the idea that we're looking for the weekly this range high to be taken out in case that happens. So we're seeing that retrace happen now that we were looking for. So that's nice. Let's zoom into that. And then we can put off this one. Actually, Let's get those ones on. And these. All right. So once again, this is the zone I'd be looking for. But personally, I would not take it because of all the reasons I mentioned. I would just wait until Monday, let the market do its thing until then. But this is the level we're looking for. Let me just add Jasmine here. There you go. Hi, and there you go. Yeah, it's still the same thing. Almost at that level now. This is the level I would look for Jasmine. So if Bitcoin goes a little bit lower, Jasmine goes a little bit lower, and you have a nice reaction from here, then you're looking for higher prices for the rest of the day, which once again looks like statistical likelihood. But personally, I will just wait until Monday, let the market do its thing. Lots of fuckery probably going to happen after coming out after such a Christmas period. So that's what I'll be waiting for. But higher prices for today do still seem likely, statistically likely at least. So let's see if we can get that retracement. You don't want to lose this. If you lose that, then lower prices are incoming. Not that much volume at all on the way up, which is not too great. Yeah, but this is the level you want to be looking at. That would be a nice SR flip. And then we can see longs for the rest of the market as well. So we're going to wait for that. Personally, like I said, I'm going to wait for Monday. With that said, tomorrow I will be dropping high time frame analysis. I know a lot of people are wondering what my high time frame views are. I'll give you a spoiler. I am looking for higher prices for the remainder of the year. I don't think the bull run is over yet. I've already mentioned it at the start of the stream, but I'll mention it again. So I'm going to come up, or I'll drop it in the Discord, in the Minoma Discord, what my views are on the higher time frame. But I'll probably record that video tomorrow as I have quite some stuff to do today. An important announcement is going to follow later on, so be on the lookout for that. For now, I want to thank you. We just have to wait for now. Let's see if those lower prices get hit. If they don't, I still think higher prices are likely. But as you know, I would personally just wait it out for now and let the market do its post-Christmas thing and take it from there. So guys, thank you very much for looking. I'll catch you in the Discord, and I'll catch you on the next stream next week. Have a good one all, and a good 2025, guys. See you soon, man.